This is not the beginning of the story, nor is it the end. It is the new age of a cultural phenomenon.
On behalf of the universities that make up the Big 12,
we want to welcome TCU and West Virginia to your new home.
Colorado becomes the first team to make a move in the nationwide college conference shuffle.
Nebraska gone. This time it's official.
Why that Syracuse and Pitt will be leaving the Big East and heading to the ACC.
Brigham Young University declares its football independence and shakes up the school's overall sports program.
So you may be wondering why these conferences are expanding. Well, the first and foremost reason is money. Each college football conference is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and to increase their revenues each year in order to stay competitive, they must find ways to make more money. One of the ways they've found to make more money is by expanding their conferences. This allows for larger TV contracts and for them to have to travel less with closer proximity opponents. Finally, it also allows schools that were in weaker conferences to move up to more competitive conferences, allowing them to play more competitive games, allowing once again for more TV contracts and more money.
After forming the Pac-12 in 2012, the conference grew from 10 teams to 12. The Pac-12 entered into an agreement with ESPN and Fox Sports to launch the Pac-12 Network Agreement. The agreement was for 12 years, a $2.7 billion, and each school was to earn $20 million annually. The contract was only possible because of the expansion from 10 to 12 teams, adding Colorado and Utah, which will not receive their full share of revenue until 2014. Much like the Pac-12, the Big Ten Network is a large source of revenue for the conference. Formed in 2007, the Big Ten Network was a 20-year project between the Big Ten Conference and Fox Entertainment Group. It was the first conference network. Fox Entertainment Group and Big Ten signed a 25-year deal for $2.8 billion for the Big Ten Network. Unlike the Pac-12, the Big Ten also had two other deals with ESPN and ABC for $1.2 billion, giving each school $20 million annually.
On August 26, 2011, the University of Austin, Texas launched the Longhorn Network. This channel is devoted to Longhorn sports 24/7. The Longhorn Network is the first TV channel to focus on one college's athletic program. The deal signed with ESPN is for 20 years and $300 million. It is paid in $15 million increments each year to the University of Texas Athletic Department. Though the Longhorn Network has been one of the most profitable things for the University of Texas Austin Athletic Department, it has also been one of the most controversial. The Longhorn Network has caused a big controversy in the Big 12, with many opponents refusing to play on the network, citing that it is just like paying the University of Texas Austin to play them. Many sources say there is no Big 12 network because ESPN already has a contract with the Longhorn Network and the University of Texas Austin. Other sources say that Texas A&M left the Big 12 for the SEC because of the Longhorn Network. When Texas A&M switched to the SEC, they knew that they no longer had to compete with the Longhorn Network, and they would have more televised games against more competitive opponents. The Longhorn Network has achieved the goal of the athletic department of increasing revenue, but unfortunately, it may cause the demise of the Big 12.
Welcome to Longhorn Network.
So was it worth $300 million to the University of Texas Austin at the cost of the demise of the conference? Only time will tell. The increased cost of travel is also leading to conferences expanding because it allows teams to play opponents that are closer to their home university, cutting down on travel costs. One of the clearest examples of this is TCU, or Texas Christian University. When playing in the Mountain West, TCU traveled on average 1,900 miles to each away game. When they switched to the Big 12, they now only travel 355 miles to each away game. Between the three major sports, they save almost 20,000 miles in away game travel. In football, they travel 2,600 miles further. For basketball, almost 4,500 miles total further. And for baseball, they traveled almost 7,900 miles each year for away games. Their closest opponent in the Mountain West Conference was New Mexico, which was too far for them to take a bus to. It cost them almost $10,000 each year to travel to New Mexico. Now, their closest opponent is Baylor University, 90 miles away, which only costs them $1,800 in a bus ride down and back. Not only does the university save by saving on travel costs, but it also increases its away game ticket revenue. With the ability of more fans to be able to travel to away games, they are able to sell more tickets and more programs, such as travel packages, for their fans. Because TCU is a private university, they do not disclose their financial records, but according to many sources, the increased revenue and decreased costs have led to hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings for the athletic program.
Previous research has suggested that one reason for conference realignment was to achieve greater competitive balance in sports among the various member institutions. This appeared to be particularly true in football, one of the very high revenue sports in major athletic conferences. A study investigated whether there was an increase in competitive balance in the sport of football after the Big 8 Conference merged with 4 members of the Southwest Conference to form the Big 12 Conference. The data for this study came from the conference standings in football for the Big 8 for the 10 years prior to the merger, and the standings for the Big 12 10 years subsequent the merger. The study concluded achieving greater levels of competitive balance in a single sport is not the only justification for conference realignment. There are numerous ways in which the Big 8 Southwest Conference merger has impacted its member institutions and the overall landscape of college athletics. However, since competitive balance is recognized as being generally appealing to consumers, and football is among the conference's most marketable sport, the implication of these findings must be deemed important, if not.
So what should you take away from conferences expanding? Well, first and foremost, it's for money. The biggest reason that conferences keep expanding is to provide more funds for the athletic departments of each university. It has been proven in many studies that as athletics improve at a school, so does attendance, and that is why there is so much focus on every school's athletic department. As it's been shown, with the bigger conferences come increases in revenues to the athletic departments of the schools. The athletic departments in turn reinvest this increased revenue into better facilities for their players, with the hope that with better players will come more wins, and with more wins will come better TV exposure and more money, but most importantly, an increase in attendance at the university. Though we love to believe that universities are solely educational institutes, at their core they are businesses, and the athletic department is just one arm of this business. The goal of any business is to expand, keep costs low, and keep revenue increasing, and that is exactly what larger conferences are doing. They're allowing universities to expand into bigger areas, to reduce their travel costs, while increasing their ticket revenue and also their TV revenue. As larger conferences are creating more and more revenue for athletic departments, we are likely to see even more changes in the years ahead. There are already talks to move more teams into the SEC, ACC, and Pac-12 to create what they call super conferences. These super conferences would allow for even larger TV deals and even more money to athletic departments. We will see what lies ahead for conferences in the years to come.